So let's move into more of the action stage. So there's that 4 phases of the journey that a customer takes. But we have the actual action stage. So this is the behavioral part that people are actually doing. According to an article by the Journal of International Studies, there are 5 stages in a consumer decision-making process that are related to that action. So bear with me now, we're going to get pretty sciencey again as we talk about these different steps. The first one is problem recognition. So this is where we are trying to understand, as humans, I need something because I have a problem. For example, it is near lunchtime. My stomach is growling. I am hungry. The problem? I don't have food. Therefore, this is a problem recognition strategy. So what this is doing with problem recognition is satisfying a perceived need or gap from the consumer. And sometimes this is called gap analysis. So this is where a consumer realizes that there's a need that they recognize consciously or subconsciously, and therefore there's a disparity between the way that things are and the way that things need to be. So with my example just now in the gap analysis, there was a conscious response from my body that I was hungry, and therefore I need to go get food to eat. So way things are, there is no food. Way things I want to be, I want lots of food for lunch. So that's kind of the recognition part there. Now, the urgency of addressing these different needs that are recognized, either again consciously or subconsciously, falls into what we call Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The greater the urgency, meaning the more we need it quicker. So urgency, faster that we want it. Less urgent means that we can wait a little bit longer. How Maslow's hierarchy of needs works is it starts from the very bottom with our basic needs, and then it moves up into psychological needs and finally self-fulfillment needs. Basic needs are at the bottom of the pyramid, and this is also the most urgent needs. So to go through them, first is the physiological needs. We need food, water, warmth, rest. We need these basic biological needs in order to be satisfied. The next above it is safety needs. So this is the security and the safety that's needed once we have our food, water, and warmth and rest needs satisfied. Above safety needs is then the belonging and love needed. So this is relationships that we have with other people, with our friends, with our family, with our significant others. This is now going from those basic needs up into those psychological needs. The next layer above that one is esteem. So this is where we have perceived need of prestige and feeling of accomplishment. And so for some people, this is stronger than in other people. But generally, if you have your basic needs met and you have relationships and that need met, then you get into more of that self-confidence and lastly, that self-actualization, which is at the very top of the pyramid. Self-actualization is that self-fulfillment need, and this is where someone has achieved their full potential, including all of their creative activities. And if you reach the self-actualization level on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you have satisfied all of your needs as a human being, which can be very fulfilling if you are ever able to reach that level. Now, you can't reach self-actualization if you haven't achieved esteem, belonging and love, safety, or physiological needs. So they do build one upon the other. So all of this to say, where do plants fit in these hierarchy of needs? For some plants, for example, herbs, vegetables, fruits, they may fit in physiological needs. Other plants may fit in the belonging and love needed. So we engage with plants to build relationships with others. It could also be esteem. You want your yard to look better than your neighbor's, and so you get fulfillment and pride from having a better looking yard than Joe Schmo down the street. And lastly, you could get self-actualization. So perhaps all of your other needs are met and you hold a lot of hobbies with gardening or you engage with others a lot, or you're very creative in your engagement with plants. So you can kind of see here where plants can fit within these different needs. Now, we would love if people would think plants fit into every space on the hierarchy of needs, but that's not true for every person. So this is where individual differences start to come about. But you can think about how you are communicating with those benefits messaging, with your online marketing, where you're fitting into this space on the hierarchy of needs, because remember, those basic needs are urgent and people want to address those first. And once those needs are met, then they start to fulfill the other needs that come after those basic needs are there. So through this whole process in problem recognition, this is what people are thinking about and analyzing in terms of what do I need to address first in my problems versus what can be kicked down the road a little bit and be addressed later when they are constantly evaluating things that they need and things that they want. The next stage of the decision-making process is then information search. So this is integrated into also that interest in plant products or interested in products in general. So once they've identified that problem that they need to address, then they're going to go look at those information searching. So this is where the level of involvement or the importance of the purchase dictate the level of research the consumer is willing to do. We know from past work done by Alicia Reen and Bridget Behe, Patricia Huddleston, and I, that the more experienced and knowledgeable someone is in a product category, like plants, the more likely that they're going to cherry pick and look for very, very specific information. Our industry is bimodal. We have a lot of entrants, and then we have a lot of very high knowledge and expertise consumers. And there's a little bit in between, but it seems to be like a lot at the very beginning of their gardening stage and then a lot of experts. And so understanding this can be helpful in thinking about this when you are developing your marketing strategy is how much information should you be sharing so that when they're doing this information search, the consumer can be successful and find the information with you. So one example of this information searching category is, for example, a consumer may pay more attention to a purchase decision when buying a car versus when buying a routine purchase like laundry detergent. So this is just a very general example here, but it shows that with a more involvement that's required to make the purchase decision, and you're likely not buying a car very often, so you might have low knowledge. So you might be spending a lot of time and paying a lot of attention looking at different car models, evaluating different financing options, looking at different dealerships and loyalty programs with them, versus going and buying a laundry detergent that you've used for the past 10 years. You know where to buy it at the store, you know what shelf it's on, and you know that the price is flexible or not, depending on what you choose to buy. So even though you're an expert, you also have high knowledge, so you're not going to spend as much attention looking at and buying this routine purchase like laundry detergent. So for many of our consumers who have that high knowledge and high expertise, they're going to go and find exactly what they're looking for. They generally know what they want and they will spend the time to go find it. And in some cases, they will go to multiple different sites in order to find exactly what they're seeking. So a particular cultivar of a plant that they're looking for, a particular pot color, whatever it may be, they will go and they will find it. So different ways that we can make it easier for these consumers is by showing the different product categories that we have on our webpage and trying to communicate not only in shorthand, this is what I have, but perhaps you have a link that goes into more detail that they can click on so they can find specifically the additional information that they're seeking. Versus we have the low knowledge, low expertise consumer, and they get overwhelmed very, very easy with too much information. It's like drinking out of a garden hose, but information about plants. And so for these consumers, we need to provide information in small doses and key information, keep it simple. And this might be good for people, or if you have a lot of consumers who are coming to your webpage like this, to have more of that click and go with a couple bullet points listed without that additional details page, because they aren't going to necessarily know what all of those key terms mean, or in more general terminology, why they should care, because they might not know what some of that terminology is. Like they might not know what a perennial is yet and how that differs from an annual. They might not know what a determinate versus an indeterminate tomato is. And that's because they haven't had that knowledge build up or that experience build up in order to have that institutional knowledge, like a lot of our existing consumer base. So that is information searching. The next category and step in the decision-making process to purchase a product is the evaluation of the alternatives. So why should they choose yours? And much of this decision is based on attitudes and past experiences related to the products, as long as the thinking about their prices and the different benefits that they provide. So with the attitudes, what they're doing is they're judging a product as good or bad, or should I pay attention to this or not, based on their traits of their comfort, their quality, or their cost. So in this case, they might have an idea of, well, I like Cadillacs, cars, because they are very stylish and because I perceive that they have excellent safety ratings and features. Versus the attitudes versus that more emotions is purchasing decisions are involved in interacting with their practical considerations, but also, what does this do for me? Does this make me feel excited? Does this make me feel prestige? Does it make me feel like I'm safe to go with this option because I know it and I like to engage with it? So businesses need to understand the different reasons when they're evaluating these alternatives, because it does effectively change and contribute also how they're information searching. So why they should go with one over the other and why they're perceiving one is better, good or bad, based on some of these preconceived ideas about who they are as consumers and what they want. So really, the role of branding in this space is to simplify those choices for the consumer. So having past positive experiences with this brand or even with this business, so if they know your business name, this can reduce the effort needed to evaluate other alternatives and making sure that they're reassured that this is a good product. And so they might, if they have high success with you in the past, they're going to continue to come back because they know that what you provide is a quality product and they've had good experiences. So that customer value really balances the cost versus the benefits of the purchase, as well as if the benefits outweigh the cost. Now, cost is not only monetary, it's also that time and effort. And in econ terminology, we call this utility. So is your monetary utility, your time utility, and your effort utility sometimes quite intangible, but people have strong opinions about these different aspects of their lives. So are the benefits that we are communicating about our products, that can they overcome some of these utility aspects? So for example, a simple one would be, I'm going to buy a larger tree because I have a very high time utility, meaning time is very important to me. Therefore, I don't want to spend the time waiting for this tree to grow up. I want to buy a large tree because it's already large and it's going to provide those benefits that I want right now. Now, some of that language might sound similar to what you may have thought in the past because this is a high time utility. Time is very important to these people. Other people may have a high monetary utility where cost is very, very important to them. And others may have effort where they may say, I have a high effort utility. And for this could be, I want to put a lot of effort into products and developing them, as in garden projects. Maybe they want to put together a mixed hanging basket at their house, versus others don't. They say, oh, I have a low utility effort, and therefore I don't want to do that, and I want to buy a pre-made hanging basket mix. I don't want to have to do that myself. So this is where we're balancing, when they're evaluating different alternatives, what this product is doing for them and these different utilities and what's important to them. Because what may be important to me as a monetary utility may be different to you. What I may see as important to me in terms of time and effort, you may think is no big deal. So this is going to look different, and it is generally related to different target markets. And you can sometimes segment your target audience by some of these perceived costs that they're thinking about. All right, the next step is step 4, which is the purchase. Okay, so we've been building up to, I have these attitudes, I have these perceptions, I've evaluated alternatives, I know that there's a problem, I want to solve it, I need this thing, this product. Now it comes to the actual purchase. And this is where they've done the pre-research, they've looked at your online marketing, they've looked at your social media, they've looked at all of these things. And this is when they decide where and when they're going to buy this product. And this point of purchase, so this purchasing decision, is important. Research has shown us that the purchase decision, so how quickly it happens, is typically 3 to 6 seconds long. It is very fast, and many times it is subconscious. So it's a decision that someone is making and weighing as their brain is analytically evaluating all the information they've been given and weighing out what's important to them. And it's a very quick decision that's made. Examples of this are easily seen in our eye tracking experiments. We can have someone look at a product for under 5 seconds and they can tell us if they're going to buy it or not. And it's pretty darn close to correlating if they actually will, which is so wild. So our brains are magnificent things, and it makes decisions very quickly. This also, therefore, is very important to us as those in the industry, because if this decision is being made quickly, then we need to be ready to share all those pieces of information, be present and available with our product, since this decision is quick. So this is that actual action, the let's turn this over into exchanging dollars or credit, whatever that may be, with the actual products we're selling. The last step in the process, which arguably is the most important in terms of long-term longevity for businesses in the industry, and I did say a double negative there, long-term longevity, because it's important, is the post-purchase processes that happen. This is where loyalty is built. This is the make or break it in if a consumer likes the product and is going to tell other people about it positively or negatively. And you want loyalty. You want people to come back. That is the golden ticket in marketing, is build loyalty with a consumer or a consumer base. So it's important to understand how consumers use your product, how long they're using it for, and if they are satisfied and delighted with the product after the purchase has happened. I'm specifically using the terminology satisfied and delight because this is an area of research that Bridget Behe worked in quite a lot over the past 15 years. And this is known to lead to loyalty. So if someone is satisfied and they are happy, aka delighted, this is loyalty. That's how loyalty is built with those two concepts. This is also why you see, and sometimes in our industry, I see this as well on web pages or after purchase reviews, is surveying. How did we do? Did we do a good job? Are you happy with us? How can we get better? And it's trying to hone in to understand that post-purchase process, because people can be feeling all sorts of stuff after they've purchased the product. They can feel accomplished. I've accomplished and I'm satisfied with that problem that I've identified at the beginning. It's filling a need. I've looked at the alternatives. I'm satisfied with this brand. And they can be very happy. You can also have the guilty consumer where they go, oh my gosh, I bought this product and why did I do that? Well, that gets a little sticky when it comes to building loyalty. Or you have those that are completely unsatisfied and they go, I'm unhappy with this for whatever that reason may be. Sometimes the plant dies. Sometimes I didn't quite get the deal I thought I was going to get with the plant. Sometimes the plant's quality degraded. It still lived, but it's not what I thought I was buying. And so it's very important with these post-purchase processes that they remain positive. So positive post-purchase process is what we want so that we can build that loyalty and maintain it and continue to have them come back. This is also sometimes called the customer value chain, and this is where we have product innovation based on consumer use and how there's a change in the consumer behavior previous to why we thought they were buying the plant. And understanding this value chain is a useful tool to think through in ways in which a company delivers value to its customers, differentiates its products, and creates profit or loss. A great example of this is the buy online, pick up in store concept that our industry has started to capitalize on and get involved with. And there was a recognized, okay, we realize that people are using our products a little bit different than what we thought in that post-purchase process, and it would satisfy them more if we had this option for that purchase action. Therefore, by providing this buy online, pick up in store, it increases that satisfaction and delight, and it's using our product in a little bit different way than we previously thought that they did. So that's a really good example on how a new innovation that's happening in that area. So it's very important for businesses, especially horticulture businesses, to get feedback from consumers about your products to market them more effectively and make the decision-making process smoother and positive. Now, it's hard getting feedback. People sometimes don't want to get feedback because they don't want to know what they're doing wrong. But this is very powerful, and whether you want to think about it or not, whether you want to know the negative feedback or not, they're going to give it. And they're going to give it through reviews, either Google reviews, on your website reviews, Amazon reviews, even on social media. You'll see people giving quasi-reviews on, I had a good time with this company, or they did not deliver service the way that I anticipated, and they'll leave them in comments. So it's imperative in this post-purchase process to also evaluate your online reviews, because it is, again, that new word of mouth. This is how people are evaluating and trusting if this product is good and if they're going to be taken care of. Because if they perceive that you're not going to take care of them if there's a problem, they are less likely to come back to you. And this is a recent development in research that Alicia Reen and I have shown over the past 2 years is they're going to avoid you if they think that you're not going to take care of them if there's a problem with these plants, if they are doing online purchasing. So through this 5-step process, from problem recognition to information searching, evaluation of alternatives, purchase, and that post-purchase process, for some consumers, this can happen in 20 minutes. For some consumers, this happens over months and months and months of decision making. And this is where there's many opportunities for our industry to intervene in the different aspects of this decision making process to influence it, or to either provide a solution for an identified problem, whatever it may be. But there's lots of opportunities for us to engage and get to know our consumer better and provide what they're looking for.